WNBA has been really a mess. It's been an absolute mess the past week. But we will talk about our darling jewel of the WNBA, Sophie Cunningham. Now, you know Sophie Cunningham. She is like the one normal person, I think, aside from Caitlin Clark and maybe a few other women in the WNBA. They're like the one normal, attractive woman who isn't androgynous and off-putting and corrosive. Like, she's a genuinely likable person. And honestly, that's all women have to do to be accepted by men and to be attractive to men. Is just be pleasant and likable. Don't be contentious and boisterous and rambunctious. That's all you have to do. Act like a woman. But Sophie Cunningham went crazy viral because why? She is against trans athletes. She is against men going into women's locker rooms and little girls' locker rooms and competing against little girls. So this is an article from ESPN that went crazy viral. And in this, there's an interviewer who made a whole article, and she is very charitable to her in the article, talking about how who she is and what her rise to stardom, where that stemmed from, and recounting all that and asking Sophie Cunningham about all of those things about her career and her life. And here's what the article says, and this is the part that went crazy viral. You say she's a MAGA Barbie. You know, let's just call Sophie Cunningham our MAGA Barbie now. She's a MAGA Barbie. You say she's a MAGA Barbie, as some corners of the internet have been taking to calling her. Projection, she says, because of what she looks like and where she's from. She'll weigh in on how to protect women's sports, she says, because she's in that world and feels qualified to speak to that world. I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans. And I'm like, I never once said that, she says. I think that I am here to extend love, but I also think that with that love is truth, being honest. Wait, is that grammatically correct? But I also think with that, but with that, love is truth, being honest. And I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. But she also insists that none of this is some Rosetta Stone to unlocking the true nature of a political worldview. And you see there that she says that love is truth, right? She's here to extend love. Love is truth. This is obviously from 1 Corinthians 13, when it says, love does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but does not delight in wrongdoing, rejoice in wrongdoing, depending on your translation. It rejoices with the truth. So Sophie Cunningham, our MAGA Barbie, is 100% correct. Now, we've talked about this on our program where, yes, like women aren't meant for and designed by God for, contact sports and high-intensity sports, but we like to see someone like Sophie Cunningham who has pull and motion in the culture to speak out on these issues, because it is just common sense at this point. Why would you allow any man just to, by nature of them identifying as a woman or a girl, be able to go into a woman's locker room, a girl's locker room, and compete against women? Like, it's a literal safety hazard as well, because men are just stronger and more powerful and faster. So she's great, and she is. Everyone is so pissed at her. Look at these liberals, really, really mad at her. This person, Roberta, I don't know who this is. Probably some trans person. Sophie Cunningham is unafraid to be blatantly transphobic. I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Yes, I mean, that's literally how most people feel. That is literally how most people feel in America. There's this one other account. Sophie Cunningham has to be suspended today. You, WNBA, can't claim to have no space for hate and then suspend Sandy Brondello for her comments, but allow Sophie to be widely transphobic in an ESPN article and skate away without consequences. The punishment must be equal. So for context, Sadie Brondello is an Australian basketball coach, and she said that Angel Reese is a protective species. And now people saw that as racist and calling her like an animal. No, it's just like, yeah, she's protected by the league and by cultural commentators and by the mainstream tabloid media outlets. So it's just saying she's a protected species. It's like there's no racist connotation to it. But so many people, they shove a racist connotation to anything that we say. So she got suspended. And so people are saying, oh, Sophie Cunningham also needs to be suspended for being transphobic. But she's not transphobic. She's actually normal. And her very profession and her being on the world stage is inherently feminist. We talked about this a lot on this program. We won't get into it, but it's she is inherently feminist by being someone who's propped up and being in a very masculine sport. But that being said, I'm not going to counter signal her. I'm not going to say like, oh, like she is terrible. Like we like her. She's a likable person. She's MAGA Barbie. She's our MAGA Barbie. And she speaks the truth that most people think. And this is something you have to understand with women, that most women can't understand concepts, cultural phenomena, what's happening, public policy, what's happening in the news. They can't really conceptualize it on a macro scale. They mostly understand things in a micro scale, which is, again, why they're so good for community building and being good mothers. But you think about even the meme, right? It's always the meme. It's like women always have an anecdote, like an anecdotal response to a statistical general reality. So you say men are taller than women. They say, oh, but Sophie Cunningham is 6'1". She's taller than you, Kangmin. It's like, yeah, I know, I'm kind of short. Or you'll say, like, men are stronger than women. It's like, which is true. And they're stronger and faster than women. No, but look, I know Becky, she's really quick. She set the school record. She's fast. It's like they always do that because they can't conceptualize the world and what's going on in the world other than what they like personally experience and see. So when you think about even the trans issue, like there's so many girls, the majority of girls and well-adjusted young girls are against the trans nonsense being in their lives, right? They're against men coming into their locker room. They're very uncomfortable with it. But why are young girls overwhelmingly voting for the left? Because they see trans rights as something over there that doesn't affect them. So if you're able to help women see the issue of transgenderism, broadly speaking, in the context of their own life and how it affects them personally, then yes, like they will much more be against men, perverted men, autogynephilic men going in and preying on young girls in locker rooms and competing against young girls. That's what you have to do. And so Sophie Cunningham standing up and having courage to do so is quite remarkable. It is commendable. And we know this, like she is a Christian. She loves the Lord. Like she just got baptized earlier this year on April 14th. She was baptized at Christ Church of the Valley in Arizona. And so like she got baptized. And I got baptized when I was little, but I felt feeling a tug on my heart to do it on my terms as an adult. Such a fun, amazing day. Thank you, Jesus. So she got rebaptized of her own volition as an adult. She's a Christian. She loves God. And here's another clip of her. So there's a lot of people who are trying to make her denounce Trump. We saw her too. You guys remember she was at the UFC as well. So you know that she is a little more right-wing. She is a MAGA Barbie. But this is her in response to reporters asking her about Trump.
I think everyone around the world is posting it. Every company has done it. They're just the ones that also get on board. And so I don't really think twice about it. I think they're just another group who is posting about it. I think...
And you know that Sophie Cunningham is actually MAGA because why? It is culturally convenient and expedient to crap on Trump, to denounce him. It's even expedient and politically, and it's literally, it benefits people, especially cultural commentators on the right now, to bash on Trump. It is the popular dissident thing to do right now. So in all avenues, on left and right, it is popular to bash on Trump. He's not above criticism, but to counter signal the guy who has mainstreamed genuine right-wing ideas into American political discourse is retarded. But you see, she doesn't denounce him. While all other WNBA players go like, yeah, I hate Trump. He's a racist bigot. Isn't he in the Epstein files? So you know that she's on our side. And she's a patriot. We like to see it. She doesn't apologize. And so that being said, what happened as a result, though, is that the meme, her pointing meme, right, that we just showed you. Like, she's like this, she's like, well, she wasn't able to make money off of it. So this is from Popbase, and they report that the WNBA Players Union didn't allow her to make money. Look at this. So the WNBA Players Union will not allow brands to monetize Sophie Cunningham's point due to rules against profiting off of player conduct from a confrontation between our members. I mean, isn't this the quintessential example of toxic female intrasex competition where you see the one normal, well-adjusted, attractive woman in the WNBA who is moderately, maybe center-right, who doesn't acquiesce to the left and bend over backwards to satisfy the sensibilities of the left. She is about protecting young girls from trans predators. And so there's a lot of people who like her. She's one of the most popular people in the league. Yeah. And then you have these lesbians, these lesbian, almost dude looking guys come together, band together, and deem that, you know what, we're going to sabotage you and we're not going to allow you to monetize an organic moment from the WNBA. It's just peak retardation. And so this guy, Akash, I believe his name is, has a great point about, and a great breakdown of this. Akash Gupta, he actually has a great point about this. The biggest meme in sports right now is a WNBA player pointing a finger. The White House posted it. Max Holloway recreated it on the UFC cage. Sheen is selling the shirts, and the WNBA Players Union just banned its own partners from making $1 off of it. Think about how backwards that is. This is a league that reportedly lost about $40 million last year and whose players just fought through a CBA battle over pay. The most marketable moment of its entire season fell into its lap for free. Every brand in the licensing program, 2K, Panini, Lids, Funko wanted it. The union said no. The stated reason is that the point was aimed at Dawana Bonner, another member, and the union won't license conduct from a confrontation. A dignity policy, fine in theory, except the ban does nothing to protect Bonner. The shirts exist anyways. Etsy, TeePublic, and Shein are shipping them right now. The point is everywhere on every platform in a White House video. The only thing the union actually controlled was who gets paid, and it chose bootleggers, yes. Players, no. So Chinese companies like Shein can profit off of it, but American companies and American players, no, they're not allowed to profit off of it. So Cunningham can still license it herself without league logos if she builds a merch operation from scratch mid-season. Inside the few-week window before the meme dies, that's the union telling its own member to go compete with Shein alone. This is the same player who said on her podcast this month that even under the new CBA, salaries aren't enough to fund retirement. A union has one job: capture money for members. This one looked at the sport's most valuable viral asset of the summer and handed 100% of the revenue to counterfeiters on principle. So you have a band, you band together a bunch of women and WNBA players in a union, and they're going to do whatever it takes to sabotage other women. That's what it is. That's what it comes down to. Like, what are you doing? Sabotaging Sophie Cunningham and the one moment where WNBA could have actually seen an increase in revenue. Nope, we're not going to allow that. Why? Because it was a player confrontation against a black player. Like, that's literally their reasoning. They're envious, they're resentful, they're bitter. No, if she is propped up and she has her special moment, you shouldn't allow that because of equality or something. Woman, if the female obsession with equality is so tiresome. But also because why? Because she was it was from a confrontation with a black player. Like, that's all it really comes down to. That's true. Even with Caitlin Clark, right now, there are articles that are written about Caitlin Clark's abuse and the assaults and just WNBA players pummeling her, beating her to the ground. And the excuse always is from tabloid reporters, journalists, activists, libtards online, well, this is just reparations for slavery. Like, I kid you not. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, they're literally writing this in articles, newspaper articles, ESPN articles. They are saying that because of past slavery, past oppression, how black people used to be treated in this country, therefore, the way that Caitlin Clark is being treated right now is normal, it's good, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, what are we doing here? And so the racial preferential treatment towards black people in the WNBA, because it is a majority black, that is what is stifling and bottlenecking and suffocating players like Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. They just hate white people. And the irony of it all is that Sophie Cunningham is dating a black dude. But they just hate white people. You have to understand this. It's all resentment, bitterness, envy against people who built this country, the descendants of the ancestors who built this country and the West. And that manifests everywhere. that envy, that bitterness, that resentment manifests everywhere, whether it's in the WNBA, whether it's in Hollywood, it's in every single sector of society. Understand that, dear viewer. It is literally just Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel all over again. So true. The Bible is so true. It never fails. Now, I want you to think about this. Sophie Cunningham versus Megan Rapinoe. Who would you rather have? Who would you rather be the face of women's sports? Which I think, women should just be, taking care of their husbands and their children for most of their adult life. But, if you had to choose, who would you choose? Sophie Cunningham or Megan Rapinoe? A colored hair, dysgenic, anxious, liberal, lesbian versus a well-adjusted MAGA Barbie. I'm taking the MAGA Barbie. Sir, I'm taking the MAGA Barbie. The one who doesn't indulge in trans nonsense. And last thing I'll say is, so obviously there's a huge explosion, huge controversy surrounding Sophie Cunningham talking about how she wants to protect young girls from predators and men preying on them and perverted men. And so she's true. She's truly right in that, like, even for me, I don't know, like, people think that I hate people, like, just with just this vast blind antipathy and hatred, this visceral, this vitriolic hatred of anyone who isn't me. Like, no, I don't. Like, I actually do grieve over the plight of people who are in the quote-unquote LGBTQ community. Why? Because they are such in deep sin and they are destroying themselves, their mind, their soul, and their body. So yes, I do grieve, and I think that we need to love them, but you cannot love them by lying to them and acquiescing to their sin and the way that they are destructive to themselves and to those around them. And so I think Sophie Cunningham understands that, and she has the right heart. So this is her response to all the haters online recently.
On that same vein, in that story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense.
I said what I said.
And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like, taking any form going forward?
I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports were protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Great answer. Sophie Cunningham is really good at PR. She knows how to navigate the political discourse and the retardation that is online discourse. So that's good. That's a great answer. She doesn't alienate conservatives. She doesn't make exceptions and say, oh yeah, but I'm not like those MAGA-tards, right? But at the same time, she stands on business. She stands on principle. She says, I am unapologetic about my beliefs, my moral beliefs, even her political beliefs. She's not a political person where she's going to be actively engaged in politics, but she does have her beliefs and she will stand on principle. Boom. And literally, the way that she opened it, I said what I said. How refreshing! How refreshing is it that we have people who are unwilling to bow to the leftist mob? So refreshing. And these are the victories that we can celebrate, and we can say, Sophie Cunningham, you're our MAGA Barbie. Thank you, MAGA Barbie, for not denouncing us and throwing us under the bus, because we all know that you're a MAGA patriot. We all know you are, Sophie Cunningham. So thank you for standing on business. Thank you for not apologizing, and thank you for standing up, especially for the safety and well-being of young girls and young children, because that's really important. And if we're sacrificing the safety and well-being of young children to satisfy the delusions and the perversion of adults, yeah, we've really lost it in society. So last thing I'll say, I think this wraps it up really well about the WNBA. The WNBA is the final form of the woman who runs a business that's always in the red and never makes any money, but stays open because her rich husband subsidizes it to give her something to do so he can go cheat with his mistress more often. Of course, that's an analogy for the NBA funding the WNBA, but that's really what it is. The WNBA constantly operates in the red and they have the NBA constantly subsidizing them, but then they make the dumbest decisions to not actually generate more revenue when they have viral moments and meme moments that can help the WNBA. You have people like Sophie Cunningham or Caitlin Clark, who are the best things that have happened to the WNBA ever since its inception. And instead of capitalizing on their stardom and their general likability, no, they want to tear them down and sabotage them because black people's feelings get hurt. Like, it is such nonsense. And like, we need to stop indulging these people. Stop being afraid to call racist. If you're not a genuine racist and you don't genuinely hate people of a different ethnic background, you have nothing to apologize for. Stand on principle, stand on truth, like Sophie Cunningham did. We love our MAGA Barbie. MAGA Barbie, rolling out. MAGA Barbies are in control. We're winning. Let's go. We love to see it. But all that being said, yeah, the WNBA, if it can't exist without the NBA subsidizing, it just shouldn't exist. And yeah, it might be a waste of like Caitlin Clark or Sophie Cunningham's talent, but at the same time, it's like they are by and large better off being a good mother and a good wife. And, you know, like Sophie Cunningham, think about the kind of children Sophie Cunningham's gonna have. She's gonna like have a son. He's gonna be like 6'9", just this buff 6'9", absolute tank of an athlete. Yeah, because the end goal, right? The design of women is to be caretakers, nurturers, and birthers of life. And so I'm not saying that women can't exercise and can't play the sports. What I am saying is that if all of that gets in the way of and diminishes and even hurts the design of women by God, which is to conceive, birth new life, and nurture that life. Yeah, like something has gone wrong. So we have to understand that. But at the same time, we can understand that while not denouncing and counter-signaling Sophie Cunningham because she is our MAGA Barbie.